Good morning, everyone. We are in eastern Oklahoma in the Ozark Plateau right now. We're starting off the day checking out a little park here to see if there's anything hanging around. To be honest, I don't necessarily expect a whole lot today because we have very brief periods of no rain in between storms today. But fingers crossed we might pull off something interesting. Well, there we go. A cave salamander, Eurycia lucifuga, underneath some bark up here. Not an uncommon sight, I guess. We've seen these guys quite a few times, but this is the first time in Oklahoma. That's a cool find, though. Let's see what else is out here. Cave salamanders are actually a pretty widespread species, especially throughout the Ozark Plateau. No surprise, considering the plateau is full of caves. But they do look a little bit different in this area than I've seen them before. They were really common on Snake Road, where most of them are that really nice kind of orangey color. This one had a little more yellow tint to it, but that could just be individual variation or it could be regional. We'll see another example later in this video of one that looks a little bit different from this. So I've never actually seen the so-called house centipede in person, but there's one right there. I'll be honest, centipedes are one of the few animals out there that actually manage to give me the heebie-jeebies a little bit. Not that I'm going to harm them or anything because of it. It's just something that'll keep me from ever actually putting one on my hand. These guys are rather odd creatures because unlike most other centipedes, of course, they have those really long legs, which allows them to get up to quite a surprising speed, which people who've seen them in their houses can probably attest to. They are not native to the US. They actually originated in the Mediterranean, but because they live so well in places like people's basements, they've kind of spread worldwide. They're relatively harmless, although bite might feel a little bit like a bee sting if you manage to piss one off. But overall, they're actually good for your local pest control because they love to eat things like cockroaches. Well, folks, we've reached the next little stop that I'm going to make. A little lake in the Arkansas Ozarks. Turns out the path across here is currently inaccessible, so we gotta hike around the backside, potentially relocate the car, but that's all right. We're supposed to have clear weather for another hour or two at least, so we'll see if anything pops up. All right, so over here, the evidence of the past 9-10 hours of rain is pretty darn obvious. There is water everywhere. There's a draining off the mountainside. Well, that didn't take very long. Little juvenile prairie ringneck under the rock here. He's in shed. It's not the most brilliant of prairies anyway, but where's that tail? I can't see under his tail. Oh well. Yeah, pretty standard kind of yellowy, orangey, pale guy. We'll just put him back under his rock here. And under another rock, a little 5-line skink who is very bitey and ready to go. We're just going to put him back under his rock. There you go, sir. Well, that's an unexpected sighting. He's just come out from under the rock, I guess, because that's in situ. That is a gorgeous speckled king. Let's see. Will he bolt? Did he get closer? What colors, though. What a gorgeous snake. Rather different from the speckled kings that we get in Kansas. He's much darker, smaller speckles. And of course this guy hunts the other snakes that I'm really looking for out here. The rattlesnakes and the worm snakes and pretty much anything else that moves. These guys aren't picky. This is a fairly young one. It's a young adult, but still young. They can get almost 4.5, 5 feet long in some cases. So he's got quite a bit of growing to do still. What an unexpected and perfect find. And perhaps it was just the cool weather, but he was as sweet as could be when I picked him up too. Didn't make a sound, didn't rattle his tail, didn't musk, didn't try to bite. Just kind of sat there for a minute, let me get a couple of really cool photos up close to see his colors before put him back down, and he just kind of slowly scooted back under the edge of the rock. Definitely a very different looking king from the other speckleds that I've seen before. As you head out onto the plains in Oklahoma and Kansas, these guys become a lot more yellowish, the spots get bigger, their juvenile pattern sometimes tends to stick around for a little longer, especially the further west you go, and they start integrating into the Desert Kings, which retain their bands. So it's kind of cool to see that integrate as you head further either east or west. Definitely a unique, very different looking snake from the ones before, and such a great animal to see. Now it looks like this is where I'll have to turn around, because this is where the inlet comes through, and it is way higher than I can cross. Big old centipede. Oh, that's too deep and wet. Alright, so not a reptile or amphibian, but that could be one of the periodical cicadas that'll be hatching out in a couple of weeks here. I am unfortunately a bit too early for them right here, so I won't get to experience that this round, but they're approaching. He's probably trying not to drown among the tree roots. Alright, seen several on this trip, but haven't actually caught one yet, so here's your little brown skink. Cute little guy. Now we need to find who eats these guys. Alright, back in your leaf litter, sir. There's a really cool colored millipede here. That's an interesting little guy. Whoops. Okay, we'll just lift it this way. Then. Such a nice looking rock with dry space underneath. Why is there nobody under the dry rock? And there have been several people out here recently, it seems, who flipped rocks out of the places they were supposed to be. Haven't seen that all along the trail, but then suddenly right over here, so people, if you're out here herping, put the damn rocks back. It's somewhat understandable if you accidentally flip one that's heavier than you thought. But when it's rock after rock after rock that I can pick up with one hand, that's very disappointing. And we got ourselves an adult 5-line skink. Brightly colored male. Beautiful little guy. How cool. Alright, as flipped, little ringneck snake. Gorgeous little guy. He hasn't run off yet either. Not quite what I'm looking for, but cool anyway. And there it is. Unfortunately deep in shed, but you can still see that incredible contrast. A western worm snake. Carphophis vermis. Related to the midwestern worms. Let me get him before he goes underground. Look at that. That belly would be bright red, so maybe we'll get lucky and find another one. But bright red and black when they're out of shed. Beautiful animals. And would you believe, again, much like the Midwestern worm snake we saw a few videos back, these guys are a dipsadded snake. They were very, very, very closely related to the Midwestern worm snakes. Completely harmless, but rear fang venomous to take down their preferred prey of worms and slugs. What a beautiful animal, though. So glad we finally managed to locate one. And a brand new species. Look at that guy. Even in shed, he is gorgeous. Although a little bit floppy. Alright, we're going to get a couple more photos and then put him back under his rock. Like many of the small fossorial species, the western worm snake often gets overlooked by herpers, and of course, the people who live around them who don't even know they exist because they spend all their time underground, but oh, how they should get more attention because they are just a beautiful animal. Decently widespread, though not quite as widespread as the eastern and midwestern worm snakes. These guys are found from the Mississippi River in Missouri and maybe even up into southern Iowa, down through Arkansas, and then over into just barely eastern Kansas and Oklahoma. They get a little less common as you head towards the plains areas, of course, because these guys do like kind of open glades within otherwise like rocky plateaus and forests, and they're just so overlooked because they live under rocks all the time, but they have this gorgeous coloration. And indeed, the normal color for these guys is in fact black top with either a bright pink or red belly. Oh, come on. And that's not flippable. Damn. Alright. And there's our biggest ringneck of the day so far. Let's see what colors he's got. Oh, he's a pretty bland one. Jeez. You're just a little bit of orange. You're not terribly colorful, are you? You're an intergrade, and you're pooping all over me. How lovely. Okay, sir. Go under that rock. The big ring was the last thing that I happened to see at this place, and believing that storms were imminent, I relocated, or at least started driving down kind of towards where I was staying for the night. There was one more area that I really wanted to stop by because I heard it looked cool, and so managed to get there, hike around for a couple hours before the rain started, and it was worth it. Alright, we are out here visiting a new location, a little place called Devil's Den State Park. Kind of on the way, and I'm going to do a little sightseeing. Quick message though for others who are out enjoying nature. The rest of us don't want to hear your blasting rock music while we're out on the trails. We're here for nature, so if you're going to listen to that, use headphones.
To life.
That's cool.
You can find them in brown,
Jelly
yellow,
fungus.
white. They all have different names. I'm not sure exactly what the name of that one is, but
Feel free to correct my ID here if I'm wrong on this one, but if I'm right, this is actually a very odd-looking but edible species of fungus that's quite common throughout the US. It doesn't taste like much, but you can eat it if you had to. And there's another teensy tiny little ringneck under a rock. He'll probably have a pretty boring-looking belly, but he's got a nice ring on his neck. We've got an adult western slimy salamander. What a gorgeous little creature. I've only seen babies before, so it's nice to see an adult now. Look at him. How gorgeous. Nice to know there are salamanders out and about. In order to see the last time that I saw these guys, you'll have to go back through the videos almost a year to when I was last in a little park in the Oklahoma Ozarks, and I found some babies of these guys. So it is really nice to have finally gotten to see an adult. They're beautiful animals, although they'll certainly mess up your fingers, hence the name slimy salamander. They can only really be differentiated from their other close relatives, the other slimy salamanders, by range, because morphologically, physically, They're almost identical. Colors, patterns, everything. So these guys are the only slimy salamanders that are really found in Missouri, in most of Arkansas, and much of Oklahoma. But there's a couple of other endemics that we'll see later that are found a little bit further south. So in the state park here, one of the things it's apparently known for is it's got a couple of different caves. This, I think, is called the Devil's Icebox. They're all closed right now, thanks to, unfortunately, white nose syndrome. A huge problem for a lot of bats. But it's an interesting landscape out here. All sorts of ridges, cracks in the rock for things to hide in. Dripping with moisture right now. I don't know if that's just because it's always like that or if it's just from the storms that pass by, but it's a good place for all sorts of wildlife. That is a very long ways down. Trying to run away from the family with screaming children behind me and coming up on a really interesting looking gorge here. I assume we're supposed to cross through here because I can see the trail up that way. Only imagine how much water it takes to flood through this. Whoa. Hello! There might be some bats in there. Another dark cave down in there that we're not, I'm sure, supposed to go into. Although I'm not even sure how far it goes. And I can hear water falling. But I have no idea where it's actually running. Which is very strange. I assume you can see it from up there. But that's not the official trail. So we'll go meet up wherever the river is in the bottom of the canyon here. Because it is definitely a deep canyon. Yep, if the caves weren't enough on their own, this area is also full of spots where there's just deep crevasses cut right into the rock. Right next to the trail where you're walking too. Sometimes right alongside a nice steep hill that you have to climb down to get around it. So yeah, you can't actually go into the caves, but you can come up under some of the ledges here to look inside. It is much cooler even just standing right here than it is out in the open, which means it's probably down in the low 50s inside those caves here. Slightly unfortunate that we can't really access them, because that's probably a good place to find grotto salamanders, species that I would really like to see because they are a troglobite, an obligate cave-dwelling, mostly pigmentless animal, at least when they're adults. The larvae look like most other salamanders and will swim around in open streams. It's going to get a little bit wet for a moment, it looks like, so we're going to close up the camera bag fully and try and cover it a little bit. Put it over here on this side, because it is raining off the cliffside here. What an environment. Doesn't even need to be raining, it's gotta be salamanders all over this thing. And I'm guessing there's a really cool waterfall up ahead somewhere. Oh, and so much mud. Oh, yep. Wow. So we have to walk under that. And then I'm guessing over that. What a cool area. Oh, it's very wet right there. No cave salamanders in the crack. I'm kind of surprised. Alright, I might need a photo of this too. It's one of those kinds of environments where if you don't stop to take a moment to enjoy the scenery, photograph the waterfalls, listen to them as they fall down, look for birds and chipmunks and whatever else might be running around on the rocks and such, if you're not taking some time to do that, you're committing a sin. It is just too beautiful to not just stop and take it in. So there's so much water coming off of the mountainside here where there's springs literally just bubbling up right against the trail here and flowing down. And another big western slimy salamander covered in stuff. He's got a regrown tail too. He's encountered predators. What a cool creature out here. Alright, back under the rock with you. Doop. No, under the rock. That way. There he goes. Oop. And another one! Look at this guy. There's so many. Alright, scoot that way a little bit so I can put your rock down safely, sir. There we go. We got another tiny little pair of ringnecks. So cute. Still not terribly colorful. Alright. Back under the rock with you. And yet another little ringneck under the rock. Man, these guys are just everywhere. Each one's a little different looking too. This guy's got lighter spotting. Beautiful. And the smallest one so far. How beautiful. And here we find the meeting point, I guess, of all the springs coming off the mountain and the main river that runs through here. Not sure if we're going to see it very well because they've got this area blocked off, probably for safety reasons. Actually, there's a little side chute we can take here briefly. Oh, hummingbirds on the honeysuckle. That's cool. Yeah, there's the river. Very flooded with rain. Alright, better view out here of this rip-roaring river. My goodness. So it would seem the original trail used to go a little bit closer to the river over here, and it is now gone. And there's a slimy right here. I hope you guys can see him because I'm not going to pull him out. He's going to stay under his rocks. Whoa. Okay, that didn't work. And that's now a relocated rock because that one fell. There we go. And I found a second one. I think in shed 2, but not as deep in shed, so he's got much better color. So I'm gonna pull him out real quick. Alright, I'm not entirely sure how, but I got him to freeze. He's not actually in shed, but so he doesn't have quite the brightest pink belly possible, but look at that contrast. What a gorgeous snake. That is an amazing animal. There's his head. There's that cute little snoot. Look at that. Perfectly shaped for burrowing, rooting through the soil. What a gorgeous little animal. Now we're going to put him right back under the rock. Alright, sir. Back under your rock you go. There he goes. And yet another of these guys, whoops, who's now in the rocks. That's okay. I knew they had to be out here too. Surprised it took this long to find one, but there's a cave salamander, and there goes a cave salamander. And as I hinted at earlier in this video, a great example of the diversity that you can find within this species. This guy was really bright orange with those really big spots, but compared to the one that we saw earlier in the video, which was much yellower and paler, great diversity. Alright folks, so the evening drive did not quite turn out as hoped. The late storms did come through and flood pretty much everything out. There were frogs all over the road. I didn't stop for most of those. Not even. I nearly creamed a bullfrog that looked like it was the size of an adult cottontail rabbit. So that was something I didn't expect to see on the road, but I just did not have time to stop for them, trying to stay out of the way of the last of these big storms. But overall, though, today still went a lot better than I was expecting considering the weather. So brand new species, cool new areas to explore. And hopefully tomorrow, the storms are finally letting up for a few days out here, so I'm looking forward to warm weather and good cruising and flipping conditions, hopefully. So, fingers crossed we'll see some cool things tomorrow. But until then, which will be probably next week's video for you guys, if you enjoy watching educational videos and such like this, do keep supporting the channel here. By watching the videos all the way through, giving a like, subscribing to the channel, leaving comments down below. If you want to find more information, there's the database and blog for plants, animals, and such on my website, carltoncarnivores.com, and I'm always posting photos and little video tidbits and such on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Carlton Carnivores. And if you have means to support my endeavors here, these educational videos, the adventures, and so on, in a more financial manner, consider donating at patreon.com/hcarlton. Members there do get extra benefits back, including early access to the videos, exclusive merchandise, the seed contest that I do every month, and more. Or you can donate at Ko-fi, or you can buy the plants that I often have for sale, sometimes even baby snakes, if you're looking for a new pet, at carltoncarnivores.com. And also merchandise at Teespring. All the links for these things will be down below, so don't worry about memorizing anything. But until next time, I'm Håkon Carlton, coming to you from far southeast Oklahoma, and this is Carlton Carnivores.